this is Medium Alyson Gannon. I'm here with Rebecca O'Donnell. We'll put our names up here too so you can see that as well. And today's topic is electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs. Now, Rebecca, can you let us know what is an EVP?
Exactly what you said, an electronic voice phenomena. So an EVP is a sound, a disembodied voice that gets picked up onto an electronic recording device. And that can be elaborate or it can be very simple. Something as little and cheap as a little $20 recorder you can buy at Walmart, you can capture electronic voice phenomena on.
Okay, great. And what actually is happening? Can you explain when you do have one of those recorders, what's happening?
Okay, so what's happening is spirits don't have voice boxes. So I don't know the exact science of how they're able to push through their voices, but 9 times out of 10, and it must have to do with frequency, the recorder is able to pick it up more than your ear. So that's the best explanation I have.
Okay, great. And I'm just responding to a couple people who are trying to find the broadcast. So thank you for sharing. Okay, hi Shirley. There's a few people coming on now. Hi Elsa, Diane, Vera, Tina. And can you tell us, how did you get into electronic voice phenomena?
I got into electronic voice phenomenon after my grandmother had passed, who was like a mother to me. And it was in 2010. And I had decided that I was going to try. I had read a few books on the subject. And I wanted to try to reach out and make contact with her myself after a failed attempt with what I'd like to call a gypsy. With a glowing neon sign, I went in to try to contact my grandmother, and unfortunately, the lady was trying to just take me for every cent that I had. During my time of grieving, it was terrible. And I knew better, but when you're in that state, you kind of, you want to try anything you can to connect. So I ended up taking it upon myself and doing a little research upon it and getting started with EVPs.
Great. Okay, so we have some new people coming on. So if we can just one more time, if you can explain what an EVP is and what it stands for, and then we'll move on to the next questions.
Sure. EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, and it falls under a group category called ITC, instrumental transcommunication, which includes voice or audio, video, and photography, which Allison's familiar with. She's pretty good at the spirit photography. So EVP, electronic voice phenomena, falls under ITC research.
Okay, perfect. And can you tell us how EVPs began? What's kind of like the modern day story of electronic voice phenomena?
Well, they began actually quite a while ago. You had Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla were battling it out to try to see if they could make contact with the other side. You also had a nature enthusiast who was out in his garden with a recorder trying to record bird sounds, and he actually found that he was picking up voices of his deceased relatives. There were, I believe they were Benedictine monks that were being recorded, their chants, and they found that in the recordings below the chants that they were hearing spirit voices coming through. So this has just progressed slowly through the time to where you've gone from wax reel recordings to reel-to-reel recordings to digital recordings.
Okay, and so basically what you're saying is with an EVP, with just even a handheld recorder, we can press record and possibly pick up the voices of our loved ones.
That is correct. It does take some time to establish a connection and a relationship, and for the spirits or our loved ones to know that we want to connect to them. So we take that time, kind of like a daily meditation, same time every day. We sit down with our recorders and we try to make that contact.
Okay, perfect. Elsa's asking if we can hear an example. And I think the best thing is maybe to direct everybody to your YouTube site, because Rebecca has several examples there. So let me see if I can type that in for folks. Let's see. Just give me a second here and we'll see if this works. I'll actually type it into our broadcast here. Oh, I see us. Okay, so Becca, let's see, here we go. Put it right here. There, that is one of the, no, actually that's not it. Sorry, everybody. That's something different. Okay, I have to just go a little bit higher. So this is it. Here we go. This is one example. Maybe after the show, you can watch that. Okay, so let's go back. And Becca, can you take us, so if families here would like to connect and communicate with their child or children, what's the first thing that they can do, what they can try? Okay,
that's a great question. The first thing you want to do is you want to clear your mind. That's so important. You don't want to go in with clouded thoughts. You want to be clear of mind, because our thoughts are so very powerful. Believe it or not, they can end up coming out onto recording devices and through applications and through radios, anything that you're using to communicate. So you want to be clear-minded. You want to get yourself a recorder, which is very important, and it doesn't have to be very expensive. It can be a very inexpensive recorder at Walmart or Target or anywhere you'd like to pick one up, even on Amazon. They sell them.
Can you hold it up in the middle for everyone to see, please?
Sure.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Simple recorder, something that's very easy to use. You don't need anything very expensive or high-end. And what I would advise to do, and spirit voices or our loved ones, because they don't have voice boxes, it's very hard for them to push out words. So they need something to propel their voice, or however they're using their frequency. And I find that water is such a great conduit. So what I would recommend is, if you were going to try this and try to establish contact, that you would maybe sit, I know this sounds funny because I did it myself, but you sit in your bathroom, maybe sit on your toilet seat or sit on the edge of your bathtub, and just run water very low. You don't have to have it full blast, just very lightly, and set your recorder on your counter. And then you're just going to sit and speak to the person you want to connect with. Tell them that you're there. Ask them to come through and speak to you. Now, you may get other family members. You may get spirit guides. You may get people that we call our spirit team that work with us daily. They're around us every day, and you don't even know who they are. Yet, you may hear a name that doesn't sound familiar like anyone in your family, and yet they know who you are. So you don't be shocked if you hear a name that makes no sense to you, because it's all part of the process. It's getting to know who's around you and who's there guiding you and helping you daily. But you want to do this every day, the same time when you first get started, or every other day, the same time. Make a schedule so that they know when to come in and sit and meet with you and try to push through to connect to you.
Can you do it maybe even just once a week, for people who maybe, work during the week, and maybe a Saturday or Sunday might be easier for them? Can it be just, I think what you're saying is just make a date with our spirit loved ones.
Yes.
Right? So if it's once a week, just make that date with spirit, and turn on your record your audio recording, right? And Rebecca's suggesting that if you put a little bit of water on, so your faucet water on or bathtub water on, that might be too strong. But that helps with the communication because water is a conduit to spirit.
It's correct, and it helps the voice become fuller. It's more breathy. If you don't have anything running, you might not hear it as clearly, and it's a little more breathy. But with that, for some reason, with the water or rain sounds, maybe if you set your recorder on a windowsill when it's raining, it just seems to really bring the voice out a little more full so you can actually hear it when you review that. You can also, if you feel comfortable enough, you can set it on your counter and take a shower. But that's if you feel comfortable enough doing that. I do recommend that you always ask for the highest of good before you start your sessions. I ask that if you're religious, say a prayer. If you're not religious, just state your intent and say that you're looking for the highest of good to come in and state who you want to speak to. And okay. That'll just kind of give.
Tiffany has a question. So she wants to know, does it have to be running water, or could they draw the bath water and then do it there? Or is it really the running water that helps?
I suppose you could do it that way with drawing the bath, but if you're in the bath, maybe you want to wave your hand around in the water. You know how you get those sounds when you move your hand around? You just want to give them something it's kind of like a wave they need to ride on. Otherwise, you'll hear something, you'll hear it very lightly, but it won't be distinct enough for you to be able to really pick up on. So anything that can really push that voice forward would help.
And Diane has a question too. We'll show her question to everybody. So Diane says, can you record with your phone?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can use anything that will record. As long as you're able to review that recording easy, you should be fine. As long as you can plug a pair of headphones in or maybe be able to transfer to computer to listen to, however you need to do that, yes, you can use your phone.
And before we go into, maybe, because right now we're just talking about a straight recorder with no type of app involved, just the recording itself. So let's finish with that part. So once you make the recording, how long do you suggest our recording should be?
That's a great question. I would go no longer than 20 minutes and no shorter than 5 minutes. I mean, you want to have time for who you're trying to connect with, build up enough energy to be able to come through to you. And at the same time, you don't want to run it for so long and ask so many questions that the energy depletion's happening, because it's really just you're in the beginning stages and you're getting to learn the flow of the energy that's around you and within yourself. When you're really connecting and you're using your heart to connect, and you're clearing your mind, you're actually the medium. You're being the medium between you and your loved ones. So that can be a little draining when you're not used to it, if you're not used to grounding yourself or if you're new to this. So try not to go over 20 minutes. And besides, you don't want to sit and have to review and listen for 30, 40 minutes on headphones. It'll just wear you out trying to, listen to water for 40 minutes. So try to keep it under 20 minutes is my best advice.
Okay, so there's some more questions coming in, but let's finish this process and then we'll go back to the questions. So we have our regular recorder that we pick up at Walmart or Target or Best Buy or wherever. Right. We will set the intention that we're going to connect with our loved one in the spirit world or loved ones, and we set a date. Maybe once a week, or if you want to do it more often. Right. And then you suggest that if we turn on some water, that helps with the process, but it's not necessary. You can actually probably try it both ways. Try it with and without water. Try it maybe in different parts of your house as well, right? Because maybe being in one part of the house might work better than another. Have you found that, Rebecca, in your sessions, or are you typically in the same place?
Well, that's interesting. I did start with no water, And what I found was I didn't hear anything. I did this for about a week straight, and I just didn't get anything. And I thought, wow, this really isn't working for me. I guess this just isn't my thing. But then I decided, you know what? No, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to experiment. So when I started making those dates in the bathroom, I found that I started getting those spirit voices coming through. My family members, my friends that have passed and crossed over were coming through. I was hearing their names, and I realized, oh my gosh, like I made a contact. Well, after a little while, they started saying, your office. So I have a spare bedroom. I converted it to an office, and that is where I really sat down and started doing the rest of my sessions. I can do them anywhere in the house, like you said. And what's interesting too is like you said, try them anywhere in the house. You know, the coffee maker is great too. When you turn that coffee maker on and you put that recorder down, for some reason that propels the voices as well. It propels the voices. It really pushes them out. So experiment. That's great. If you feel like there's more energy of the person that you're trying to connect with in a certain place, sit in that place. You don't have to restrict yourself, but it's all about experimenting and connecting and finding out where, after a while, once you connect in and you establish that connection, you can really go anywhere and it'll come through. They'll come through.
Okay, great. So let's see. So we've got that. And so now you've done your recording, anywhere from 5 minutes of a recording up to about 20 minutes of a recording. And then what? Then what do we do? Because during that recording, you probably won't hear anything, right?
No.
Right. So everybody, you don't hear anything when you're actually doing the recording. You're just sitting there doing the recording. You can ask your loved one questions. You can ask them, you can let them know how much you love them. And then that's the 5 to 20 minutes. So then we're done with our recording, and then what happens? Hi, Kelly.
Well, then you're going to get yourself a good pair of over-the-ear headphones. And, everyone uses the earbuds, but for me, they're just not as good as the over-the-ear headphones. So you can get those, again, anywhere, Amazon, Target, anywhere you want to buy a pair if you don't already have them. You're going to put your headphones on, and you can actually start with piping it right into the recorder. There's a headphone jack on the side, and you can actually plug right in and just hit play and review it right through this. If you really want to be able to slow it down and stop it and rewind it easier, then you might want to put it into your computer. And there's a couple free programs you can get online. Audacity is a free program. WavePad is a free program. And you can actually upload it as an MP3 right onto it, open the file and listen. You'll see the graphics of the voices if there's any. So that might help too, having a visual, because you may see the pattern of water going and then you see a big spike. Maybe that spike is a voice that came through. So it helps to have a visual representation, but just to start, not to get real technical, you can just listen to it through your recorder.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. And so either listening to it through your headphones, through the recorder, or if you're more technical, then you can slow it down through Audacity. You know what I find is interesting as well, or what was the other one, Audacity or
WavePad usually gives you they give you free trials, I think, on some of the others as well. So you can just Google, yeah.
And what I find is interesting as well is that the sessions that we've done together, you've actually been able to play the recording backwards, and there's words and sentences that come through as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? And then I will get to questions, because there's several questions that are coming through.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Transposing or reversing the recording. I found that when I reverse some of my recordings, even though it doubles the time of listening, so a 20-minute recording, you're going one way and then you're flipping it and going back. That's, 40 minutes you're sitting down listening to that. But I found that my family members and those that were closest to me, I heard them respond more on the reverse side than on the front in the very beginning. Now I've got to where it's both ways. But yeah, you're able to hear and I don't know how it's done. I don't know how they do it, but they're able to come through in reverse and let you know that they're there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's get to some of the questions here. Okay, so Tiffany is asking, do you typically have to slow the speed to catch the EVP?
That's a great question, Tiffany. Spirit resonates at a higher vibration. Our loved ones, once they cross, they tend to be at a higher vibrational rate than us. And in order to come, they have to lower their vibration in order to meet that frequency to be picked up on that recording. I don't know if that makes sense, but the EVPs that come through tend to be quick. So it'll be a fast hello, or maybe your name, Tiffany, really fast. So yes, it typically does help if you're able to slow that EVP down. It helps for your own listening. Once you become accustomed to it, you'll pick it up live quickly, and you know they speak quickly. It's very rare that you have an established team member or family member on the other side or guide that's able to speak slowly and clearly. You do have them, but it's rare to have it. So it's usually you do have to slow it down or reverse it and listen a few times. You never want to go and listen to something over 5 times. If you can't hear it within 5 times, you keep going and just disregard it because it's just kind of, it starts matrixing and pareidolia.
And there are different classes of EVPs. Can you talk to us a little bit in layman's terms so we can all understand the technicality of it, what, Class A, B, C EVPs are?
Yes. Class A EVP is where you can play an EVP that you've recorded and everyone in the room can hear what has been said. Class B, it goes down in degradation. Class B, you can hear it, but maybe the other person in the room might dispute that it says something else. And then it goes down to Class C, where it's like you may know what you're hearing, but that the other people won't be able to validate that. Even though you may know the tone or the cadence of how it's coming out as your name, other people would dispute that and say, well, I'm hearing something completely different. It's garbage to me. It doesn't mean to be completely dismissive of it. It just means that if you were to categorize that, it wouldn't be a Class A. It wouldn't be something you would present as evidence that you're speaking to your loved one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Are we still here? Yes, we are. Okay. My screen just went blank for a second. So another question is Elsa. Let's see. Elsa has some questions here. We'll try to get to everybody's. So Elsa was talking about the smartphones have different apps. So without getting too technical, what would be one of the #1 apps that you could recommend we try?
Oh, there's so many. They all do different things. So, they all don't run on the same platform. So iPhone has their own set of apps, obviously. Android phones have Google Play apps. And so it's hard to find an app that's across all the platforms. And just to add another example, your Windows computer can have a completely different app that doesn't run on either platform. So there are a lot of free apps, and it seems like the winner in that, the king in that area, is the Android or the Google Play. So if you have an Android phone, you're in luck because there are a ton of great apps to try out. iOS and Apple, not so much for free. There's a couple good paid apps, but they're higher, they're more expensive to run, and just not as much of a selection. And then software online, there's a lot of great software you can run on a Windows computer. Like I said, Mac and Apple, the game for getting in there with Spirit apps just isn't as big as Android and Windows. A great Android app, let's see, there's a couple good ones. The Imperium box from Extreme Senses is a good one to try, and that's free on Android Google Play Store. the Banshee box is a fun one to start off with. Now you have to remember, you're training your ears to hear these sounds. And without getting too technical, apps are different than, I guess I'll just get right into this. Apps are different than what we call spirit boxes. This is the spirit box. This is a spirit box. Okay. And then look at this. This is an old Sony Walkman. And remember these from the 80s? This is a spirit box. And then you have the more elaborate ones that you can pay makers to make for you. But essentially, a spirit box is a scanning radio. And what it does is it scans through the AM or FM frequency, and it's on a certain timing that it's scanning through, and you're getting bits and pieces of words that come through. So you're going to have radio bleed through, you're going to have commercials that come through, you're going to have bits of music that come through, but what you're looking for is intelligent responses to your questions or names that come through those questions. You know, if you ask for somebody and you're asking if they're there and you hear a name like Thomas come through, then you know you're getting an intelligent reply, and what are the odds that that's going to happen at that time through the radio. Or if you're hearing your name like I hear mine 100 times coming through a radio, it's just a little too coincidental that it's coming through all those FM channels. So that's essentially a spirit box. Applications that you use on your phone or your tablet, and even computer software applications, they use what are called word banks and phonemes or phonetics. Some even use gibberish, like recordings of soccer games, people speaking all at once, and they clip it up and they put it into different sound banks, and our loved ones on the other side are able to grab those pieces, you know, the a, e, o, oos, and put them together to form words. I guess we should really say that you're not, at this point right now, there hasn't been anything invented yet where you're getting full paragraphs, full sentences, really. I mean, you can get, if you're lucky, get a 7-word run, maybe. I think the longest I've had is like a 7 or 9 word run, which forms sentences, form the sentence. But to get that one right after the other, it's too difficult at this point. There's just nothing that's come out yet to really give you that full, like you're speaking on the phone to somebody. So as of now, you're looking for validations in small bursts. 1.5 seconds, you know, hello, and their name and your name, and they say they love you, I love you. Or they may say their favorite name, their favorite word, or their favorite baseball team. You know, you'll know, it'll come, you know. Sorry about that. Go ahead. I know you had a question. I saw one come up.
Yeah, there's a number of questions that are coming up. No, but that's wonderful information. Thank you. And I know during your sessions, Beck, they'll always say your name. I mean, yes. When you listen, if you go to her YouTube channel and you listen, many of the sessions, they'll say, hi, Beck, Becca, hi. Yes. So it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And we had a couple sessions together, which was interesting as well. We had one that was an unsolved, actually a couple unsolved cases that we used EVP as a tool to try and get some more information. And Becca has another app that is all pictures. And maybe you'll share a little bit about that. But when we did that session, one of the people who had passed, whose case I've been working on, he passed in a fire, a suspicious fire. And so out of all these photographs that Spirit could use to show, they used only one, and it was a match, which was quite incredible. But maybe you can share more about that. Is it an app, or what platform is it that has the pictures, where Spirit can choose pictures to show you?
Okay, so that particular app was called the Phasma Communicator, and that's a wonderful app because it comes preloaded with so many thousands of pictures. And what you do is you just start it running, and it also can push through words, not auditory words, but actual printed out words. It will say the words, to be honest, too. So it'll say a word as well, but mostly it's a picture app. And you can preload your own pictures into it. You can put your family photos in there. You can go into Google and take a lot of images out that pertain to you and put them in. And the idea is that, you know, our family, friends, and loved ones can choose the photos that pertain to, you know, a message that they're trying to get across to you. So I like to have that running when I do sessions in the background. Even though I focus on the audio EVP, it's really nice to have a photograph pop up. It seems to tie in with what you're talking about, even if you don't know what it means. Maybe the sitter will know what it means, just like what happened with Alyson and I, the lit match that came up. I had no idea that person had perished and possibly in a fire. So I just relayed the information as I got it, and it was shocking to me. It was, you know, more validation that, you know, that's what Spirit showed.
Yeah, and then the other one was kind of an unsolved case, like a whodunit case, right? And Spirit kept saying a particular name over and over and over again, and that happened to be the spouse of that person. So, and that's who we all kind of suspected. So that was quite an amazing I guess, come through of information as well. So Becca, I wanted to say one more thing to everybody. So Rebecca is very generous, and she is going to gift 2 sessions to families. She typically doesn't do these because it takes a lot of time. So a 20-minute session will actually then take her 4 hours of going through. She'll be running all her apps and all her equipment during the session. And then it takes her about 4 hours to listen to each of the pieces of equipment and to gather the information, and then to put it together into something that we can all understand and comprehend. Correct?
Correct.
So if you know, if someone would be interested in trying that, Becca is gonna work with 2 families, and not today, but she'll. When do you think? Probably in the next week or so, or yeah. So in the next week or so. But we just wanted to let you know about that. And let's just look at the questions here. Okay. So, Elsa, you have a lot of really good questions. So we're going to put Elsa's question up, which will probably block us. So here we go. What about our faces here? But we'll put it up for a second so everyone can read it. What about lower vibrational entities? Becca, can you see her question or not?
I can actually.
Okay.
And I love the unicorn, Elsa. It's magical. Okay, so that is a great question. Now, I used a Ouija board as a child, and I had a lot of bad experiences after using that Ouija board, and it was terrifying. And it actually terrified me to the point where I didn't know if I was going to be able to do EVP, because I had already opened that door once, and I thought, is this just like the Ouija board? And I can tell you that it is not like the Ouija board, and I'll tell you why. With the Ouija board, you're kind of opening a blind gate. There are very few people that are so advanced using Ouija boards that they have a lot of knowledge using them, and they use a lot of protection, and they're able to have successful communications. I stay right away from that. That's my own personal opinion. I just stay away from it. What's nice about the EVPs and doing the recordings, you can hear, if you hear something on the recording that's negative, if it's swearing at you, and I want to make this clear because we retain our personalities when we cross. So if you swear like a sailor in this life, you're probably going to swear like a sailor after you've crossed. And I have family members that make funny jokes that are a little crude, but I can identify who they are by their crude jokes. They make fart jokes. They talk about coffee, and they say choice swear words here and there. Sometimes it's kind of funny. But if they're actually swearing at me or saying negative things towards me, you shut it down. If you're using an app and you can hear that live, shut it down. If you go back and review and you're hearing that, stop listening, delete the file, and you decide whether you want to start again, putting always protection around you. If you go in with the intent that you're going to speak to a higher vibrational being, or your loved one, your daughter, your son, your grandparent, that's who you're going to connect with. But if you have any fear or doubt, if you're sick, if you have some sort of illness, if you're in a mental depression, don't go there. You want to wait until you feel good. Your vibration needs to be high. Remember, spirit connects with your heart, but they also read that energy signal. So if your heart chakra is all black because you're feeling you've got the flu, or if you're really depressed that day, you want to stay away from that, because you're just inviting in. Like attracts like. So if you're feeling in a dark mood, you're going to invite in dark things, whether you know it or not. So you want to be in a higher good place, and you want to ask for the highest of good. So yes, it is possible for lower beings to come in, but it's not too hard to get rid of them, believe me. You just shut them down. You ignore them. You don't give them the time of day. And don't be afraid. You can't do it. You can't be afraid and do this work. You have to be, in the knowledge that you're safe and that you have your family looking out for you. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Becca, because that's a side of it that I often don't visit. And as a medium, when I'm connecting with people's loved ones, that's who I'm connecting with, is love. So I haven't had that experience of connecting with really anything but loving beings. But it's always good, just to know that you're connecting with your loved ones, and that's who you want to bring through. You don't want to talk to anybody else.
That's right.
So let's just see if there are any other questions here. Let's see. So looking down at the questions. This is another good question from Elsa. So can babies speak to us by EVPs too? Have you had that experience where an infant or a non-verbalizing or non speaking yet child has been able to communicate?
That is another awesome question. Elsa's bringing the good questions. Yes, I have. I've actually spoken to the babies before they've been born. I've actually had my spirit team members tell me that someone's pregnant. So they give me that gift right away. They tell me, hey, so-and-so's pregnant. And I've actually been able to speak to the child. And it's amazing because the voice that comes through, even through some of the software programs, is that of a child. It's simple. And it's very close to having an animal come through. And yes, you can have animals come through the EVPs as well. If you've had a little fluffy, what do we call them? Fur babies that have crossed over. They come through with simple words. Usually their name to identify that they're there. Sometimes you'll hear, if it's a dog, you'll hear a dog bark. Or if it's a cat, you might hear a meow. They always usually tell you they love you. They miss you. They may say something that pertained to them when they were alive so that you can connect to that. And now, same thing with babies. They're really inquisitive, the babies. My nephew had come through to me, and here's what was really interesting. Now, my sister-in-law was pregnant at the time, and the baby's coming through, and every time she would change the name of the baby, because he wasn't born yet and she was going through the names, the spirit name was changing on the other side. So he would address himself as the name she was thinking of naming him. So, at one point she thought she was going to name him Gavin. So he would come through as Gavin, and she changed it to Colton, and he came through as Colton. So I knew how to identify each time she thought about changing that name, which was interesting. So it was like showed how mutable that spirit was before he was born. Now, also on another note, Sonia Rinaldi is a Brazilian EVP researcher, ITC researcher. She does the same thing as I do, except she's progressed and she's been in the field much longer, to where she can go in and communicate with children and people that are in comas or are verbally unable to speak or severe autism. And she's actually able to use the recording devices to be able to communicate back and forth with them in that. So it does work. Like I said, our thoughts are so powerful, even as living beings, that we can actually have influence on what comes through. So like I said, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to put, you know, bad things are going to come through. You'll notice that when you work with EVP as well. You know, you may be about to ask a question and the answer will come through right before you ask it. Or maybe you're mid-sentence and they'll say the answer. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. And the more you work with it, the more questions you have, unfortunately. But it's so rewarding. It's just so rewarding.
We have a couple more questions. And then what we thought we would do, because it's a little bit hard to do it live through Facebook, but what we thought we'd do is turn on one of Rebecca's devices and just see what might happen. So typically she'll do this with a one-on-one session, but we're going to try it in the group a little bit and just see what happens. And then also we have a couple other questions here. So Jamie asks, would my son call me mom or by my name?
Ooh, either. They can call you either. I mean, it's like Allison was saying to me, what should I call you? Becky, Rebecca, Becca? What do you prefer? And the funny thing is the spirits call me all sorts of names. Sometimes they even make their own, I would say my family members and friends. Sometimes they even put my name into something like Becktacular or Beckonomics. So they'll actually do little plays on your name. But I did notice when I've ran sessions for parents that have lost their children, they did come through and say ma or mom. They rarely used their full name. They usually used ma or mom to identify with them. But don't be surprised if you hear there.
And, Becca, it's not... it's not like us being able to pick up the phone and have a conversation with our loved ones on the other side. It's, there's some randomness that comes in. There's some interference that comes in. It's kind of looking for the nuggets, right? Within, is that how would you describe it? So that we don't give anybody the false sense of
right.
Having a full-on conversation.
So remember, like I said, there's an energy that they have to lower their vibration. So you're getting little bursts. You're very, very, very blessed if you're able to get full sentences one after the other. I don't know if that's happening. I'm sure it has maybe, but nothing I've ever seen. So you're going to get little bursts. You're going to get things that pertain to you. I had seen a question flash across the screen about if it's a baby, how would they know that, to identify you through their voice but what you're listening for is the connection, and the synchronicity is the most important thing. When you're working with the EVPs, you're going to start finding that you're going to hear things that don't make sense sometimes, but you're going to write them down. You're going to write down those words you hear. And what'll start happening is you'll notice these weird synchronicities that'll start happening. And then you realize, wow, my loved one is around me. They're witnessing things, or they're with me when I'm watching the soap operas and they saw a funny thing and they're just repeating what they saw. It's a connection. So it's like if you had that little inside joke, they will use that inside joke just to let you know who they are. So it's becoming accustomed to it. And you're also becoming accustomed to the cadence of how they speak. They almost have a signature as to how they speak. Not all can speak. So just like in life, not everyone's a great communicator. That's the same thing when you cross. If you're not a great talker in life, you're not going to be that big of a talker on the other side. But there may be someone that will step forward and speak for them. There may be someone that might help them. You may have somebody else step forward to do the majority of the communication. So it's really just a matter of time, getting to learning the people around you, your team, your family, your friends that are around you daily. And once you identify that and you identify their cadence and their tones and how they come through, then you'll know what's going on. You'll say, oh, that little chipmunk voice is my mom, or Uncle Joe has that low, breathy voice that sounded like he smoked 100 cigarettes a day. So each thing, and also I want to make sure I tell you, don't be alarmed by how it sounds. See, that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people get fear-filled and get really scared when they hear that first EVP. And I will tell you, it is shocking when you hear your first one. You're like, wow, I just heard my name. And sometimes it comes across a little strange because they don't have the voice box to really articulate. So yeah, it's going to come through breathy and choppy and fast, and it's going to be in bursts. And it's not going to be that perfect representation. Sometimes it is, and you're really lucky if that happens. And it does happen, just not often.
Yeah. So I have a healthy. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just had to cough. Getting over the sickness.
Oh no. I have a healthy dose of skepticism. Even being a medium, I'm always kind of questioning things and, wondering, especially new things that I'm trying. And I can tell you that when I did my first EVP session, I was hoping that it was real and I was wishing it was real, but it really wasn't until the end of that session when I said, love you, Mom. And then that brought through this whole wave of energy from the other side. All of these voices saying, love you, love you, love you. That's when I knew it was real, was the vibration of love that carried through my loved ones to come through. So, okay. So let's see what other questions we have, and then we're going to try it. Thank you, Jamie. Let's see. See if there's anything else that people were asking. I think we answered most of the questions. So let me ask you a couple more questions, Becca. So what has been one of the more amazing things that has come through for you during your sessions?
Okay. I think the most amazing thing that I'll never get over is the validity of the fact that they are always around. Our loved ones are literally always around us. Sometimes we feel so alone, and Earth is not an easy place to be. We know that things can just get really tough, and we can go into some depressions, and we can feel like there's no one around or nobody cares. But you have to know, and that's the one thing I've learned through doing this work, is that you're always surrounded by loved ones. You always have a team with you that's working with you. And this is all behind the scenes. You're not aware of this. You aren't taught this. Religion calls them angels, and, ghost hunters call them ghosts. But honestly, it's just this network, this family that is there to protect you and guide you and love you and encourage you. And you find that, like Alyson said, amazingly, it fills you up because they constantly remind you how special you are and how loved you are. So that was one great thing. But also, I had a physical thing happen where my grandfather, who I wasn't very close with in life, must have signed on to be my EVP partner in crime here. And he's in every session. And he came through and he kept warning me about my roof. And he kept saying, your roof, your roof. Now remember, you're only getting a word or two. So after a week or two of hearing roof, 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 you start thinking, is there something wrong with my roof? So I actually ended up getting someone finally, after a while, to get up on my roof and check it. And sure enough, my roof was going to collapse, and I had just had a remodel done. I was completely broke. I couldn't afford to get a roof, okay, because it was just like, oh, where am I going to come up with $5,000? I just remodeled this place. But my grandfather was saying, your new ceilings collapse, you know? It was like, okay. So he validated that my roof needed to be fixed. And he went one step further. I had a conversation, and that's what you do when you do EVP. Express your concerns, express how you feel. So I said, you know, Grandpa, I can't afford this new roof. I'm broke, and I know you're warning me, but what good is the warning if I can't do anything? And he said, finance. And I was like, wow, I never thought about financing a roof. Is this possible? And so it was like through the grace of God and my family, I look into financing, and nothing in my state would allow me to finance my roof. So I went back to Grandpa the next session, and I said, Grandpa, financing's not going to work because they don't finance in New York. And he says, your brother, your cousin. And I just thought, that's really strange. So I was talking casually with my brother about the roof, and he says, you know, me and my best friend will come over and we'll do the roof for you. He said, all we ask for is I need a new set of tires for my truck, and my friend needs some new tools. And I had a credit card. It was a way to finance. So I actually financed my roof. I paid my labor and cost of everything through the credit card. And it was like my grandfather guided me to do that all through a few words, not even full paragraphs, just a few words. So there are these miracles that happen through it if you're open to receiving it and you write them down and you just kind of stew on it for a little while. It'll make sense and it'll help. They'll help guide you. So that was amazing. Yeah.
That is incredible. Which brings me to one maybe final question. How many days a week or maybe hours a week do you spend doing EVP sessions for yourself?
Okay. When I first started, it was so exciting that I did it every day. I did it every day. I'd sit in the bathroom, and then I thought, I'll do it when I take a shower. I'll just set it on my, my side table there near my sink, and I'll take a shower and let it go. And what ended up happening was after a while, I started getting like a burnout that was happening where I was just like, wow, I'm just listening to this every day and going, I mean, this takes some time to sit and review because, a quarter of the work is doing the recording and asking questions. That's the easy part. The hard part is training your ears to hear the different devices, learning the different app sounds, learning how your friends and family sound on the other side. And that takes a lot of time. And so hours and hours and hours a day. So I did that for a couple of years straight. And then I realized it was time to slow down and maybe go every other day. And so now I go when I feel that urge now, because I feel like, Spirit always has something to tell you, but you don't have to check in every single day. You can if you want, and you want to at first go as much as you can to establish that connection. But after a while, you may not need to go in as well. So at this point, eight years in, I do maybe 3-4 sessions a week. And I do it when I feel the need to. When I see something like a great owl come down on my lawn, I might want to tune into my spirits through EVP and ask, why did I see that big snowy owl that nobody else saw? And maybe if I'm feeling like I need a little encouragement, maybe, because I'm working on a book and I'm stuck writing, I might tune in and do an EVP session and speak to my guides and say, can you help me get through this? And maybe they'll say keywords or things that'll help me name my next chapter. You would be amazed at the things that come through as far as guidance and premonitions. And it's totally amazing. And the most amazing thing is the love and support. And so when you need that, that's when you just tune in. But I hope that answered the question. I probably went all over the place.
Absolutely. No, it's been great. And we really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with Elsa's group. So it's really been an amazing wealth of information. And should we try and see and show everybody one of your apps, and can you share what this app's name is and what you do with it and how it works? And we'll just see, we'll see what happens.
Okay. This app that I am running is called the Infinity Box, and it's by extremesenses.com. And they have great software on that website, by the way, and it's not very expensive if you do decide. They have some free programs you can download and try, and I believe there's 3 free ones. The free ones are called the Spirit Radio, or the X Paranormal Spirit Radio, and the Afterlight Box. Those are 2 really good free ones. And then their paid applications are way less expensive than their competitors, but are made really well. So the Infinity Box, I have, it's called a vintage pack loaded into it. And what that is it's a bunch of sound clips from 1920s to 1950s radio stations. There's a bit of an echo effect to it because as you work with the spirit more and more and you realize, the running water helps, so doesn't a little bit of echo, so doesn't a little bit of reverb, whatever can help that voice carry. So it's kind of built into most programs nowadays. So I'm going to be running that, and we may not get, everything might not be very clear through the web here because I know things are delayed and there's buffering and there's all sorts of weird sounds coming through. But we're going to try our best and just let you hear what it sounds like and see if you can kind of tune in and pull things from it. So I'm going to go ahead and fire that up. Let's see.
Yes, I will, Elsa. I just put the links in now, and I'll do it later.
Can you hear that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. Hello, is there anyone here with us?
Brandon?
I thought I heard Brandon. Peter? Can you tell me the names of who's trying to speak to us?
Sam?
We have Sam, I believe. Annette. I want to say Jake on that one.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Elsa's group.
They said they're waiting 30 seconds on the group, they said.
You really have to have a trained ear also to hear it, Becca.
You do. And it is easier live, hearing it live time for me than it is for you on that side, because it's probably more echoey on your side.
Yeah, it is echoey. So can they tell us who's coming through? Then their names, please, of who's coming through.
Can you tell me the names of who's coming through, please?
Andrew. Was that Andrew?
I believe we're getting some names. I thought that was that one was Rhonda. Can you speak clear for me? I heard baby. We all know. all know. Can you tell me how many are here with us? Can you give me a number?
Coming down to locate now.
Coming down to locate now. I'm recording this on my end as well, so.
It sounded like Andrew, didn't it?
Can you say that again, Allison?
It's the name sounded like Andrew, didn't it?
I did hear an Andrew.
So as Becca says, she is recording it on other devices, right? So
Yeah.
she'll go back and she'll listen to all the things that we can't hear and put it together. But we just wanted to give you a sample of how this works. And the names that we did here were Sam, Pete,
Here, I'll turn this off.
Brandon. Yeah, Brandon. Who else did you hear?
I heard a Rhonda. At one point, they kept saying that they were trying to get everybody down. They kept saying 30 seconds until we can get them all down. It does take some time. You know, when you start doing these sessions, I was telling Allison, you know, that 10-minute mark is really where they fire up. I don't know what it is. It's like a buildup of energy. And so it's like that halfway point in that 20-minute session, you really start getting great responses. And as you could hear, I was having runs of sentences come in. And so, like I said, I will analyze all that and see what we get. But yeah.
Okay.
So,
and someone said that they thought they heard the name Greg. Becca,
I thought I heard that too. I can't be sure till I listen back, but there was so much coming through at certain, like we talked about earlier, little bursts. That sometimes it sounds like Tiffany says it's crazy sounding. It almost can be overwhelming to your ear when you're not conditioned to it. The more you get used to the program or the app or the radio or listening to the water sound, the more you become attuned to hearing it live. So.
And one other question for you. So what we were hearing though wasn't just spirit voices coming through. Can you explain to everyone what spirit was doing with the sounds and with the words?
Right. So essentially spirit was taking sound banks of pre-recorded sounds that are chopped up, little snippets, and they are placing them together to form sentences and words and to be able to push those names. Those names aren't in the program. You know, Becca Boo isn't in the program. You know, any nicknames that come through, those aren't programmed in. And no, the speaker doesn't pick you up and there isn't some little person on the other side playing tricks trying to, you know, because I've had people think that, you know, oh, you're using an application, someone's tricking you. You know, do you know how many people would have to be tricksters to sit there and do that with all the people around the world that use these applications? It's crazy. So essentially it's just word banks and phenomes and things like that our friends and family members and loved ones are able to take and rearrange. And I believe, you know, and this is my theory, that they work with a team that's knowledgeable. It's an ITC team that's knowledgeable in doing this. So I was told that I have an organizer, and this organizer so-called takes the coats of the spirits that come in to visit, and he seats them and kind of organizes it. So form a line, you know, so that not everyone's talking all at once. So it doesn't become chaotic, overly chaotic, even though it sounds it to you. It wasn't that bad. So, yeah.
So Tiffany has a question. Are there ever times where that particular platform makes no sound, where it's just silent?
Yes, there are lulls. This particular one, you can control most of these applications. You can faster replies. You can change the speed. That doesn't mean necessarily that anything will come out though. It just, they push out what they push out when they want to.
And Becca, I know that we're kind of running up on time here, but
Yes.
but there are a few people that we're hoping to hear from their kids. Can we try it one more time and see, maybe run it for maybe 3 to 5 minutes and see what else comes through?
Sure.
And maybe we'll ask a couple questions as well as the questions are coming through here.
Okay.
And this is just one device. But Rebecca recommends you start with just a regular recorder that has no pre-recorded snippets of anything.
Sorry.
And, and that you start with just a recorder on your iPhone or on one that you buy from Walmart or Target, and just turn that on for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and begin to ask your loved one questions. You won't hear the answers as you're recording. You're going to have to listen back with headphones. And you might even want to slow it down by using one of the free programs, the software programs like Audacity, or slowing down your recording.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We're going to try it one more time now that we got a warm-up of it, and see if any other names come through.
Yes, and I'll just let it go. Here we go.
Oh, that was me.
Yes, Alyson.
I heard that one. I was surprising. I was so surprised. What was the name?
Cat. I thought I heard, but yeah, Cat.
Or Ken? Cat.
Sounded like cat, like a female. It sounded like a child, though. A child saying cat.
Can you tell us who's here, please? Can you give us your names? We love you.
That was a name, but I couldn't tell. Go ahead and say your names for us, please. Wow.
I thought I heard, I could be hearing things. I thought I heard like PJ or something like that.
Brandon again. Forgive me, but they have someone named Brandon.
Brandon, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Does anyone know? We got a Rupert. I've never heard that one. Tom or Sean?
Tom, it sounded like.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, that is Tom. Do you have any messages for anyone?
Jamie's dad was Tom.
Interesting.
Is this Jamie's dad, Tom? What was that, Becca?
They played a little music interlude there. Is this Jamie's dad, Tom?
Joseph, maybe.
Yep. That was a Joseph. They said they're a little overwhelmed. Or they're pushing. They must have. Sounds like they have a lot of people there. Oh, lots of families. They said they have.
I'm glad you can understand it. I'm having a hard time.
Lots of families, they said. Can you speak clearly? Message? Do you have a message?
Sue's picking them up. She's picking up what they're saying. Well, we definitely had a Brandon. We definitely had a Tom.
Yes, we had a Joseph.
And a Joseph. And an Allison at the very beginning. That was awesome.
As soon as we plugged in, yeah. We They said they're going to go off in a hurry, they said.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Becca, for sharing this with us.
You are so welcome. It was so nice to be able to share my knowledge with everyone and let them know that this is something that is possible for you to connect to. You know, we all have that a little bit of mediumship in us, I believe, and the willingness alone just to connect to somebody that you love is really all you need. That and the time that you take to make each day to sit, or each week, you know, to make your appointment with your loved one and sit and just talk naturally. Don't be afraid. Just, you know, maybe put them in your mind's eye, put the picture of them in your mind's eye, and, you know, don't overly think about it. And sometimes, you know, even if you hold a picture of them and just clear your mind and just look at that picture, maybe you'll make that connection. It's not always going to happen, and it definitely starts off slow. But the more you work, the better you become. And there's a lot of amazing groups out there. There's the Big Circle. It's a parent group that have their children. They communicate with them on the other side. AREI website, the Afterlife Research Educational Institute, also has some step-by-step instructions for computer work if you ever want to try that. There's a woman named Sherry Pearl that also, I believe, runs parent groups on that end for parents that have lost, you know, or trying to make contact with their children. So there's a lot of options, but I would recommend, you know, trying it yourself. And it is an amazing gift just to be able to hear how much they love you and that they're with you and they're always with you. They know how you're feeling.
They do. So, thank you, Becca, and to everybody on here, thank you so much for joining us. Know that your children can hear your words that you speak. They can, if you write them a letter, they can understand the emotions and feelings and words that you've written. If you think about them, they can connect with your thoughts. And know that they are only a thought away. They're right here with us. So thank you and good night. Some places, I think it's still afternoon here for us in California, but it's getting later on the East Coast, and it's really late for Elsa over in the UK. So thank you, everybody, and till next time. And Becca will be doing 2 sessions with families on Elsa's group, then maybe we'll have her post the results, or we'll give you the link to the results. So take care, and God bless.
Thank you.